Welcome. My name is Christopher Paisley. I'm a Philadelphia public school teacher for Inside White Fragility. Today I'd like to talk about the racial shakedown of a Wisconsin school district. Last week, a school board meeting in the Burlington Area School District in Wisconsin was shut down by Black Lives Matter protesters. Organized by the Burlington Coalition for Dismantling Racism, the meeting ended abruptly Monday night with shouting, arguments, and school board members exiting the building with police protection.
Choke my coffee, my boy. You know that? Black lives matter. Brown lives matter. 12! 12! 12! 12!
According to the Journal Times, the issue at hand was a proposal that the Burlington Area School District adopt an anti-racism policy and curriculum, which advocates had demanded but others in the community have opposed and the school board has not adopted. Such policies have been internally discussed since March. The demands have been made after numerous allegations of racism in Burlington schools, with critics saying the school district has done little to discourage such behavior. A mother of a former student who attended Burlington schools had this to say to the school board.
I wanted to, out of fear of having to relive and succumb myself to the trauma that I've survived through my son. However, I finally decided that I'm sick and tired of each and every one of you being silent and thinking that you silently won. You probably think you're going to get to hear all the details of my family's racial injustices that we experienced in this school district. You're not. You're sadly mistaken. I would never give you the satisfaction of causing our family any more distress and trauma more than you already have. I will not share information with anyone in this room who's made it clear they do not care about Black and brown children that they're teaching. And I know you aren't looking to make any type of changes for them. Your silence and inaction speaks volumes, and the world is watching you now. They will continue to gaslight us and make it seem like it was our fault. They will continue to underreport issues related to racism and continue to tell parents like myself, if you continue to push this issue, you'll be arrested for disorderly conduct.
Early.
Making us fear. Do you see an issue?
Although the mother insisted the Burlington Area School District has remained silent about racial issues, and that the educators in the room have made it clear that they don't care about Black and brown children, documents from the school district show otherwise. In July of 2020, the Burlington Area School District issued a public letter directly responding to several accusations of racism made by the Burlington Coalition for Dismantling Racism. One accusation was that the school district had inequitable hiring practices. The activist group stated that the district refused to hire a qualified black assistant principal for Burlington High School and instead hired a white person with less experience. The district respectfully responded to this accusation by stating, "The goal of the Burlington Area School District's collaborative hiring process is to identify the very best candidate for the position and make a recommendation to hire to the school board. BHS's vacant assistant principal position received 69 applications. 16 applicants were interviewed in the first round by 4 BHF staff and administrators. 5 applicants participated in the final round of interviews with 14 staff on the final interview team." The Burlington Area School District sent a letter to families and staff called Seeking Solidarity on June 3, 2020, after the BHS super assistant principal hire. "We continue to be committed to equitable hiring practices and hiring a diverse workforce.
I will not share information with anyone in this room who's made it clear they do not care about black and brown children."
A second accusation of so-called racism by the activist group revolved around student suspensions. The coalition claimed that the suspension rates were 25 times higher for the 39 black students in the entire district than for the over 2,500 white students. But an actual look at the numbers showed a completely different picture, however. According to actual data from the 2018-2019 school year, which is the most recent available, 4 of the district's 43 black students were suspended, which comes to 9%, while 54 of the district's 2,523 white students were suspended, which is about 2%. The district wrote in response, "This data confirms that in the 2018-29 school year, the suspensions of black students compared to their white counterparts was about 4.5 times greater, not 25 times greater. We recognize that this is an area where we can explore a more restorative approach to student discipline." So actually, the school admitted that there is an issue with the suspension proportions and that they said that they were going to work on this. However, the claims of the rate being 25 times higher was grossly exaggerated. A third accusation made by the coalition was that black kids were being called the N-word on a daily basis, and Mexican kids were being called beaners and wetbacks. Also, white students were regularly displaying Confederate flags on their person, lockers, and vehicles. After a thorough investigation, the district found these accusations were not credible. The district wrote in their letter, "The Burlington Area School District has no evidence to support the assertion about these behaviors having merit. That said, we fully recognize that there are past and present student-to-student microaggressions that may or may not be intended as racist, but inflict harm to others and communicate hostility and negativity. We know this can be hurtful and will continue to do all we can to ensure that every student and staff member feels welcome and valued in our schools and within the Burlington community." So once again, they acknowledged it, that there was an issue. They investigated it. They didn't find these so-called incidences, but they did acknowledge that they wanted to do better.
I will not share information with anyone in this room who's made it clear they do not care about black and brown children.
As part of the Burlington Area School District's public response to the coalition, Stephen T. Plank, the superintendent of schools, wrote a personal response stating in part, "I write to you today representing the Burlington Area School District as an educator, school leader, and member of the greater Burlington community. I, too, wish to be an ally in the efforts to put an end to the racism that causes anguish in our community and our country. I see the Burlington Area School District as partners in making change happen in our community. The Burlington Coalition for Dismantling Racism has brought forth 4 desired outcomes, in short: to update curriculum, require diversity and inclusion training, increase the number of educators of color in our district, and encourage other districts to follow our lead," and they're all acknowledged. The Burlington Area School District has been pursuing action around your 4 points and more to take an aggressive stance towards eliminating racism in the Burlington area community. So the school board and the superintendent acknowledged their suggestions, said that it takes time to work through this, but that they're considering it and that they're working on it. Yet, according to the coalition, Black lives don't matter, and the school district has done nothing to end racism in the schools.
I will not share information with anyone in this room who's made it clear they do not care about black and brown children that they're teaching. And I know you aren't looking to make any type of changes for them. Your silence and inaction speaks volumes
But there is a clear irony underlying the coalition's actions. One of the components contained in their anti-racism policy proposal involves ending student harassment and bullying. Take a close look at how the members of the Burlington Coalition for Dismantling Racism model the very behaviors they claim to want in the school district.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Do you see us? Do you see us? Choke my coffee. Choke my coffee, my boy. You know that? You know that?
This says everything you need to know about their so-called anti-racism curriculum. As the saying goes, rules for thee, but not for me. As evidenced by the behavior of the Burlington Coalition for Dismantling Racism, why would any parent want their policies in the district? And while some of the coalition's anti-racism curriculum has merit, like their efforts to bring about diversity and inclusion and to protect victims of harassment, the core of the policy centers around the principles of anti-racism, which are extremely polarizing and divisive. An anti-racist approach to equity involves stereotyping entire groups of people, branding all whites as inherently racist, privileged, suffering from anti-blackness, while labeling all people of color as oppressed victims who have no control over their own lives. The empowerment of people of color depends on the dismantling of whiteness and so-called white supremacy culture. So anti-racism basically teaches that whiteness is problematic, it needs to be dismantled, and it teaches that if people of color want to truly become empowered, they have to go through whiteness and white privilege and all of this white society. So it's an interesting thing about self-empowerment. It's not self-empowering at all. It's zero-sum, it's polarizing, it's divisive, and it really is not doing a whole lot. Anti-racism is a zero-sum approach, which in effect is more about indoctrinating students and community members into adopting the ideology of identity politics and transforming our youth into activists. And ironically, where has such activism gotten the coalition? The disruption of the school board meeting kept their own agenda from being considered, and according to the Journal Times, the Burlington Area School District's communications director, Julie Thomas, said she did not know when the items from Monday's agenda may be taken up again. So in the end, where did the infantile temper tantrum get them?
I'm here for my sister to be seen, man. She wasn't even seen today.
It got them tossed out into the parking lot, where in all honesty, they should remain until they can learn to conduct themselves in a manner that actually models the behaviors they claim to support.